Hey, good morning, everybody, and happy 2019. My name is Jade Alberts. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. I'm a small business strategist, influencer, and my passion is helping them grow and succeed. Sharing knowledge and stories is why I started the Facebook Live event. And if you have any questions to ask during this broadcast or after we repost it, please post away and we will answer them. I'd like to thank Orangetheory Fitness for sponsoring this chat for January and February. They deliver superior fitness results in a fun group environment using heart rate monitor technologies. They have 9 Calgary locations, so definitely check one of them out. I am so pumped about today's guest, Doyle Buehler, who's a best-selling author on digital strategy. Doyle, thank you for joining me, and how are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic, Jade.
And
I had to wear my special headband today.
I know I wore one. It's a funny story to that one. I wore it a while ago when my daughter made me one, and you saw it and you requested it once, so I sent it all the way over to Australia. So that is just awesome.
I'm loving it. It goes well with the longer hair too.
Oh, exactly. There's no doubt there. First of all, I want to thank you for staying up until midnight.
Yeah. Well, it's midnight plus, so yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I know I've been on your shows and I appreciate that, but I mean, I consider you a mentor in the digital strategy world. And I mean, I know your 2 books. I mean, I keep mine in my desk at all times, like just right here, and in it goes. You sent me the other one digitally, so I can't show it. But I mean, it's something that I just I really look up to the knowledge that you've shared with me over the last 3 years of our friendship. So
yeah, cool. Well, we met at a conference that I was speaking at back in Calgary in 2016, I think September, October. So yeah. No, it's been a nice little adventure since then. So yeah.
Oh, it has, and even a nice little coffee in New York once too. So that was pretty cool.
There you go.
I'll give a brief introduction so everybody kind of knows who you are. Doyle's a best-selling author, a global entrepreneur, international speaker, and digital business thought leader, specializing in strategic digital branding and marketing. He has mentored, coached, trained, and inspired many in the areas of startups, digital leadership, digital innovation, disruption, transformation, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Doyle is the author of 2 books on digital strategy for business innovators that want to reform and disrupt their business online. These books position digital leaders to think in a clear, more logical, strategic manner involving businesses moving forward with digital marketing, workflows, and leadership. Doyle also hosts iTunes podcast, Breaking Digital, where he interviews influencers from all over the world. He also conducts workshops and speaks around the world at different business events and conferences, highlighting the strategies and business needs. I mean, that is probably the most impressive resume I have read off on this. And again, I can't thank you enough for being here. But I mean, so many people are talking about digital transformation. And I mean, I've read both your books, but for someone just starting off, what would you recommend?
I think it's really important. One of the things that happens a lot, or that I see a lot, is that you kind of just jump into it with digital and expect all the pieces to kind of fall into place. But the problem is that they don't. And what I've found is that a lot of businesses don't actually take the time to kind of plan out and create that roadmap for digital. So they get to a point where it's like they haven't really built their assets. They haven't kind of built up their ecosystem. So they're expecting business to come, but it doesn't, because they don't have these things. And of course, that's not for every business, right? I mean, if you're a startup digital business with an app, or some kind of service or that sort of thing, typically they obviously have that together. But for the vast majority of businesses, they don't spend enough time up front to say, here's my digital strategy. This is what's really important. This is my value that I'm going to deliver, and this is how I'm going to deliver it as well. So it's really important in my mind to kind of get out there and kind of get that set up, and then start to grow the business as well. So it has to be top of mind. It has to be sort of one of the first things that you look at when you're developing your business. So.
Oh no, I absolutely agree. I mean, a lot of people are so scared to do it. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to make a mistake," or they get false information. So, I mean, it's a lot of it is honestly trial and error that I have found. Well, that works. This post works. This doesn't work. And maybe my people aren't on Snapchat, so I don't need to be. You don't need to be everything to everybody on every platform. So,
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things too is to kind of counter from that is that if you're kind of you have to kind of pick your platforms and sort of decide up front where your customer is and that sort of thing. So if you are sort of jumping around, then you're not going to be sort of using your time as as efficiently and as productive as possible.
Productively.
Sorry, the headband's too tight.
The headband's too tight.
Productively, the word of the day.
Yes.
Productive. Yeah, if you're not going to be, if you kind of lay it out and see what's coming and that sort of thing. So there is sort of some forecasting that you have to do as well to develop a good strategy, a good digital strategy. But at the long run, it's better because then you're not running from shiny object to shining object. And you're not sort of spinning your wheels as well, seeing what people are doing and how they're doing it. So yeah, it allows you to be proactive, really. And that's the main thing here is that it's kind of like the wild, wild west with the cowboys and the gunslingers and, the gold miners and all that kind of good stuff. But it's okay for a starting point, but long term you kind of have to look at, well, what happened to those kind of industries? They basically don't exist anymore, because it had to become more organized, it had to become more strategic, you had to sort of build up your assets and that sort of thing. It wasn't just sort of a one shot deal and away you go kind of thing. So
bang on. I totally agree with that, and that's a great point. So I guess in today's world, we're we want everything yesterday. Society. Oh, how come it's not working? Please share with us, your experiences about how much time it takes to implement a successful digital transformation.
Typically, if you're like an operating business right now and sort of been pushed around, not pushed around, I don't mean that literally, but sort of gone from piece to piece, and your organization is in the digital space, it's not very organized as well. Typically it takes about 9 to 10 months kind of thing. So to go through basically the whole strategic development process that I've developed over the years takes some good time, because you have to do some thinking, you have to sort of restructure a few things, you have to be able to define a lot of different parameters about your customer and your business and that sort of thing. So that's really, really important. So there are obviously things you can do a little bit quicker, but overall, if you're looking to sort of transform your business in the digital space, then you have to be able to spend some time doing it. It's not just going to happen overnight as well. So it takes some time, because you have to put it out there, and then you have to test it, like you'd mentioned. But with this strategic sort of sense of value in the back of your mind, and you can create what I call a strategic architecture that really kind of lays that foundation. So you've got a plan, you've got a process, you've got a methodology that really can kind of help you go step by step by step. Okay, I need this, now I need this, now I need this, and there's 7 parts to it that I go into, but that's kind of the foundation of it. And so you have to give yourself some time to be able to do this, keeping in mind that you're still running your business as well, right? Like you can't stop running your business. So the metaphor I use is that it's kind of like doing a renovation, right, on your house or your office or whatever the case may be, where you still have to operate, you still have to run the business, you still have to obviously, generate your revenues, but at the same time, you have to improve your business. So that's why it's kind of splitting your time across there. But if you have the process, if you have the steps and again, the methodology, then that makes it so much easier to be able to do so.
Oh, no, I agree. And and it doesn't matter what the most important number in any business is the bottom line. You won't have anything to promote if you don't have a business. So it's a fine line there on how much time you have to spend on actually branding and helping bring in business.
Yeah.
So to kind of spin off on that, and you talk about working with your clients more efficiently. How do you recommend people organize their digital workflow?
Well, what I've done is I've sort of created the steps where people can sort of take a look at, okay, well, what's really important here? What do I need to concern myself with? And there's obviously a lot that goes on in the digital space that makes sure that it's really quite confusing and quite overwhelming as well. So it's really important to kind of take what you know and put it into a system, a process, and a workflow is what I call it. And then that allows you to kind of build on it. So I have 7 steps. I don't know. Do you want me to go through them or?
Oh yeah, maybe you can mention them. I mean, I think
Sure.
it's very important. I mean, they're in this book, and I mean, you can get the book. I believe at Amazon and online. So, and there's the digital. There's the newest one, the breakthrough.
Yeah, exactly. So there's 7 parts to this. Rather, the first one is developing a strategic architecture. So this is kind of your roadmap going forward. So you have to be able to know, define your value, how does it work, and that sort of thing. The second one is developing a content plan and making sure that you have all the pieces for content. You know who your customer is, or who you're at least talking to for those specific pieces of content, and then you're able to again connect and communicate with them through that. You need to know your social media, right? So are you using social selling? That's step number 3. How do you actually put these pieces in place to make it not just a one-way sort of source of broadcasting, but a 2-way social and sharing and that sort of thing. So that's super important. Number 4 is branding and your videos and visuals. So making sure that you're able to produce content that reflects your image, that it reflects your value, and reflects obviously what your customer is looking for as well. Step number 5, or your bucket number 5, is your website alignment. So making sure that you've got all the pieces in your web platform that you really need to be able to that align with your strategy, align with your content, align with your social media, so that it becomes a platform that you can use. But again, it has to connect and has to do specific things. Item number 6, frame number 6, is basically, this is one that a lot of businesses actually miss, is campaign development, where you actually have a sales process integrated into your website, into your platform, and into your digital ecosystem as well. So it's really important that all these assets are working towards your business, towards getting you business, or getting you leads, or getting you, contacts, or whatever you want to call them. So a lot of businesses don't miss that, or rather they do miss that. And it most of us really kind of focus on about 3% of the business that comes our way and say, hey, that's our business. But there's about 67% that a lot of businesses miss because they don't have it set up. And then the last one is the 7th one is your advertising and your analytics, and making sure that you can sort of measure results, and that you actually develop a concrete advertising plan, because you really need to get it out there past your sort of initial sphere of influence. So I've got these things, seven frames, 7 buckets. But what it actually really works out nicely to is that you can then decide anything that kind of is thrown at you throughout the day, and you might be missing some of these as well, but anything that's thrown at you throughout the day, you can then put them in one of the buckets. So I need to develop a new web page. Okay, so that's, bucket number 5, that's website development. I need to put in another lead magnet, or a gift, or a product for prospects, or a campaign. Okay, that's the bucket number 6, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how all these things fit together. So instead of worrying about SEO this and social media that and all this kind of stuff, you can really sort of just go, okay, well, social goes in bucket number 3, content goes in bucket number 2. So you can then, convey that to your team, to your customers, to your clients. It's like, okay, these are the pieces that we're missing. These are the pieces that we need, and these are the ones that we have to develop as well. So it makes the system really, really easy. Quite honestly, it's like you got 7 choices, you put them in one of the 7, and away you go. The team can activate on it. Your clients can activate on it. Your support can activate on it, or whatever the case may be. So it's really easy to be able to develop going forward.
Oh no, and I mean, I use your set. When I first read your book, again, about 3 or so years ago, I was like, I mean, I had my own little system, but I pretty much almost adopted yours. It is so efficient. It is so simple. And I mean, you are pivoting and you're doing different things, but it is just for someone that's starting out and are going to do it on their own. It's such a good roadmap. And I just love it. And I tell people about it all the time, and obviously promote your books. So it's just something that,
Thanks,
I can't
Jade.
press
Well, that's the thing, right? My background is in engineering too. So that means that you kind of want to find a process. You want to kind of find something that makes things a little bit easier than they were before. Yeah. So that was sort of my whole intent of understanding this digital business. And I've been in it for it's been a long time now, 16 plus years. So you kind of see what works and what doesn't. And, the businesses that have a process, that have a methodology, those are the ones that are really kind of doing very well in the business landscape. And the ones that don't, they're kind of, running like they call them chooks in Australia, which is a chicken. So it's having running like a chook without its head, or its head cut off, or whatever, a chicken with its head cut off. I like chook, and
sounds way better than chicken.
Yeah. But anyway, you're like a chook with your head cut off, right? So you're kind of running around and not really doing much, and flapping your wings and making some noises, creating a lot of dust, but you're not actually doing anything. So it's really important to kind of help organize, step back and go, oh, what do I actually need here? Right. Yeah. And we're chasing our tails. In the book, I talk a lot about, we're activating our monkey brain, because there's so much out there, right? It's like Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and live video and, all these different pieces that we're expecting business owners, like ourselves, to be able to understand and comprehend. And it becomes very, very difficult. So what I've said is like, hey, what's the process that we can go through to be able to organize this and systematize it so that it's really easy. So it takes, you've heard the expression working on the business as opposed to in the business.
Yeah.
Guess what? 99% of us are working in the business because they don't have a process, because they don't have a methodology. But if you've got that, you're working on the business. And so that allows you that freedom to go, okay, this is important and we can do this, and, become more of what I call a digital leader as well.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. One thing I want to, since I have you here, and one of the questions I get when I work with my clients is, they just don't know what to do when they have a negative content come in, or negative post, or negative, I try and tell them, deal with it in public. Some might be taken offline, but what's your strategy on this when there's a lot of negativity around something?
Yeah, I agree. You kind of have to make it public, or at least respond in public, because people are going to be, as they say, you can't please everybody type thing, which is fine. Some people make a lot of noise if they're not satisfied, which again is fine. They, have the opportunity to be able to do that. But I think the most important thing is that you need to address it, right? So that's where, Google reviews or Yelp reviews or whatever the case may be, it's really important. The ones that get the most coverage are the ones that actually resolve or try to resolve the issue. And there are some cases where, for whatever reason, maybe they are just, that person that left the negative review is just a troll, but you kind of can't assume that. So if you try to deal with it and you're not making progress, then, there's not much you can do, really. It's if you've tried to address it, you kind of have to look at, cutting your losses as well and saying, okay, well, I tried. I legitimately tried. So you need to be able to do that, because again, in the public forum on Google, the reviews are there so people can find them. So if somebody provides some negativity or a negative review, then respond to it specifically and try to address the issue. And most people will see that and go, oh yeah, okay, I understand, that at least they tried to resolve the issue. Maybe it didn't become resolved, as I said, but you've taken the effort, you've tried to do your best. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for is making sure that you take that effort, right? You don't troll them back. You can have fun with it too. I know there's some social media accounts, Burger King and KFC in Australia anyways, they're pretty snarky responses to some of the things that go on, but it's fun, right? In that case. But if it's a personal type review, address it, be as public as possible, because people are going to find out anyways. So it's better to try to see what you can do up front as opposed to just kind of hiding it. I know I get that too. It's like, oh, well, can I hide those reviews? And it's like, no, sorry, you can't. There's a lot behind that. But what you could do is if you do have some negative reviews as well, another strategy is get more people to deliver some positive reviews. So go back to your customers and say, hey, can you leave a review? Can you leave? You have to state it the frame is can you leave a positive review to your customer? So be clear what you're asking for, right?
Yeah.
So ask your customers for a positive review of your business on Google or Yelp or whatever the case may be. And so that will eventually bump down the negative reviews over time as well. So that's another strategy for trying to deal with that. So
yeah, no, we're definitely on the same page there. I truly believe that you'll never make everybody happy, and if you show that you've made a really good effort, and then eventually just say, you know what, I'm sorry, we can't help you. We tried our best, and you walk away, and that's just the way it works. Sometimes I mean, the simple solution is usually the easiest solution and the right solution. So
yeah, exactly. And you have to consider too that there is there's a human on the other side too, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with social media is that it's become impersonal, right? Because you don't know all these people, and I believe that's sort of the cause of some of the arguments and that sort of thing, where you go to Facebook to argue, which doesn't really do a lot. But the fact is that there's a person on the other end of the line. If you can understand what their concern was and the root problem, not that it was chipped or red instead of green or whatever, like what were they really looking for, kind of thing. Was this product even intended for them, kind of thing. So if you can understand the human side of why are they saying this, and try to get to understand that, then you're going to make progress with that as well.
No, I agree. Great. I mean, excellent points. Lately, I mean, I've been promoting I talk about having small businesses and entrepreneurs have a hard time networking. So I know you're a master networker. I mean, how have you used your network to advance your business, and then spin off into that? What's next for you?
Networking is definitely extremely important, and it's kind of shifted. Obviously, it's shifted much more online and that sort of thing. So you kind of have the traditional networking events and that sort of thing. And obviously the online networking, like for example, LinkedIn. But what I've found is that you need to use a combination of both, right? You can't just get away with one or the other. You kind of really have to use both. So you can build a massive community on LinkedIn. That's sort of the place to be for networking, connecting with people, and producing some great relevant content, but also sharing and commenting and building a community around a group of people as well. But what you can do, and what I typically do when I go into new city, is use a tool like LinkedIn and find people who are within that industry that you're sort of marketing towards or selling towards or that sort of thing, and set up some meetings and set up some networking events or some workshops or that sort of thing. So you can really use both sort of environments, real life and the digital world, together to be able to sort of grow your business. And not everybody needs to be doing business in other cities, so don't get me wrong there. You can do it within your city itself, but it's a great opportunity to be able to find people who are interested in specific things, who are potentially your target customer or even a partner, right? Where they can kind of help you with your business or whatever the case may be. So, and the rules sort of are no different than, the traditional networking live events kind of thing. You can't go there just to sell your shit, because nobody's really interested. They're really interested in themselves. So it's really about building a relationship, in the digital world or the networking event, and seeing kind of what opportunities might exist. It's not, are you going to be my customer? Are you going to again buy my shit kind of thing? It's, what do you do? How, what are you looking for? How can you, make your business better, and how can we work together and that sort of thing? So you have to be able to do that on both. And it's a lot of giving too. And, give time to comment and it's no different again than going to a real life networking event where you spend talking with people and get to find out their story. And again, I talked about, the human side of it, which we've kind of lost a lot of touch with that. And it's really, really important to be able to do that, whether you're digital or whether you're sort of, shaking people's hands at a networking event. It really comes down to who is that person, get to know them. And once you get to know them, then you can see the opportunities that might exist or not exist too, right? That always happens as well. So you really need to be proactive at it. It's not going to happen by itself. It takes a lot of work, but it really kind of helps in sort of the long term.
I
How
agree.
you build and grow your business. Yeah.
I agree. So, I mean, I try and have 2 to 3 coffees a week. And when I do travel, whether it be Houston, Toronto, New York, where you and I ended up, you saw a post and they're like, "Hey, I'm here. Let's have a coffee."
Yeah. That was cool.
It is, yeah, it's something that I stress all the time. Like even when I was in Toronto, I had an 8-hour layover, ended up setting up 4 meetings at the airport. I mean, it's something that you have to do. It has to be face to face, because we are losing that touch in today's digital world, and I stress that all the time.
Yeah.
And even the Founders Coffee that we started here in Calgary with through Linden in Toronto, it is something that it's just so important to get out there and meet people and listen to their story, and then try and see how you can help them. I mean, a lot of it's never what's in it for me scenario when I'm meeting somebody. I'm always listening. I'm always making sure that, when I had a coffee yesterday, I'm going to be setting up, 2 gentlemen that would probably never have, crossed paths. So it's such a good way to grow your business and your person. You just want to help.
No, it's really important. You have to, again, be proactive. You have to see. And again, it might not be a sales opportunity, but that's totally fine, right? It's what can you do to kind of help that other person out or that other business out or whatever. And again, if it leads to business, great. But you know what, if you can help them sort of create a little micro impact with them, then that's important too. So
exactly. No, for sure. So I guess I have the same question I ask every person I have on. If you had one piece of advice for a small business or entrepreneur, what would it be?
Have a plan, right? I mean, I'm all about sort of the strategic side and making sure that you have a great digital foundation, because you obviously need one. But having a plan, there's lots, what business can be exciting. You're an entrepreneur, you're shooting from the hip, you're, flying by the seat of your pants, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, right, if you really want to make an impact, then you have to have a plan. You have to have, a direction that you're going in, and you have to know how you're going to get there as well. And it might sound a little bit mundane, but again, the businesses that are doing the biggest impact are the ones that they've got a great plan, they have a workflow, they have a strategy as well. So that's really important, is to take the time to plan it up front, lay it out there. What do you want to accomplish? What is your digital ecosystem looking like? What assets do you need to build? And away you go. Because you might also miss something too. So
I miss things all the time. That's a great advice. I mean, and even that plan might involve pivoting at some point too. So you just, you expect the unexpected. You never know when you're going to say some campaign, well, that just didn't work. Let's the way that one goes.
But at least if you're planning for that campaign, you have an understanding of why you're doing it.
Absolutely.
If you suddenly come up one morning going, "Hey, I should do this," I'm not saying don't do that. Don't get me wrong, but the fact is that some of this stuff you can actually prepare for in advance, right?
Yep.
And there's a little story I tell quite often, and it's actually looking at the direction that you're going in. As a former military pilot, like, you have to be able to get to your destination, otherwise you're going to completely miss it. And one degree over 60 miles is 1 mile, right? So if you're 1 degree off, which again, that's not a lot, you're not going to get to your destination. So if you're looking like flying across Australia or Canada, if you're 1 degree off, like that's going to create a huge difference. You're not even actually going to get to your destination at the end. So, what are you doing to be able to course correct throughout this business growing process, where you're growing and scaling the business? And if you don't have that, I think it's 60% of businesses don't make it to year 4. They fail within the first 3 years. So, you know what? I don't have the specific statistics on that, but that's a pretty good indicator that those businesses that aren't planning ahead, that aren't sort of developing that strategy, are the ones that fail. So do you want to be 2 out of 3 businesses that fail? Yeah, the person on your left and the person on your right, like they're not going to be around in 3 years. So if you want to be, then you got to do something about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And let's make sure that we say that's Canadian military. You're a Calgary boy.
Yeah, I'm a Calgary boy.
Exactly. Just a world gallivanter now.
Yeah, exactly. Calgary's my hometown.
Exactly.
But I still get ads. It's funny. I still get ads served for like Calgary Flames stuff, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's funny. I really appreciate, Doyle, you staying up till 1 a.m. in Perth and doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important. I can't stress, especially when I'm in this side of the things too, and I can't stress enough how important and for someone to listen to this and talk about digital strategy and your 7 steps are just, I mean, in my word, iconic. They are just outstanding. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's because I have this fancy headband too. So, yeah.
It took Grace a little time to make that, but she just loved it. She was, oh, somebody wants it. Can I sell it to him? I said, no, we'll just courier it out to Perth.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's pretty cool. So thank her for doing that.
Oh, I will, and I did. I took a photo, so she's gonna love it. I'm gonna show her the video, and she is just gonna be her 8-year-old smile is gonna be from cheek to cheek. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, bless you. I also like to thank Orangetheory Fitness for sponsoring this. Please check out one of their 9 locations. It is time to start a fitness ritual in 2019. So again, Doyle, thank you very much for your time. And there's your newest book, and as your original book as well. So don't forget about both of them. You can order them online through Doyle's Facebook page, website. And I saw you're going to have an Amazon Kindle coming out soon.
Actually, it is out there now.
Is it out now?
So I'm doing an official launch later, but yeah, it is available on Kindle. Perfect. And you can actually get it in Canada in Chapters Indigo stores, in the retail stores as well. So some of the not every store stocks it, but they'll be able to get it to you within a couple of days or so as well, if you like visiting your local Chapters Indigo. So yeah.
Yeah, we still do in Canada.
Yeah. No,
maybe so much States, I don't know, but we still go to the bookstore here.
Well, it's good. Actually, that they're really nice bookstores. Like in Australia, they don't have they don't have like a Chapters Indigo where you can go and chill and read books and sit and browse and that sort of thing. They do obviously have bookstores, but they're bookstores. They're like libraries with a cash register kind of thing. So there's not much, place to kind of just surround yourself with books, which I obviously love, as you can tell, but I enjoy the Chapters Indigo experience. It's quite nice and quite unique to Canada. So
it is. All right, sir. Well, have yourself a great day, and we will chat soon.
Well, I'm going to go to sleep, but yeah, I'll have a great day tomorrow.
My day's just starting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, thanks, Jade. Really
take care, buddy.